Yes, there we go. Right. Awesome. So, welcome back to N3 Biology. Cells. Yes, we've been doing a lot of cells stuff recently. A lot of cell stuff. We've got cells coming out of our ears. So I've put together this thing. So we've got all the features of different cells down the middle, and we've got the 4 basic types of cells that we've looked at. So, can you match the characteristics with the cell types? Right, so first one, cell membrane. Which cells have a cell membrane? Basically all the cells have cell membranes. The plant cells, animal cells, yeast cells, bacteria, they all have cell membranes. Cytoplasm, well, you're not going to believe this, but they all have cytoplasm as well. Cytoplasm, 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 and cytoplasm is, of course, where the chemical reactions take place. Nucleus. Well, animal cells, plant cells, yeast cells have nuclei. The only one that doesn't is the bacterium. Cell wall. Well, I mean, you can basically tell from the pictures. Plant cell, check. Bacteria, check. Yeast cell, check. For some reason, animal cells don't have cell walls. I asked Siri, why don't animal cells have cell walls? And basically, cell walls make cells rigid and inflexible. But in animals, we don't want rigid and flexible cells. We want them to be squashy and able to move. And that's why animal cells do not have cell walls. Plant cells need cell walls because they need structure. They need a kind of an exoskeleton for each cell to stay more in place. So that's the reason. Vacuole is plant cell and yeast cell. No vacuole in a bacteria. So vacuoles are usually in planty things. It's fluid, it's not air. Chloroplasts. Chloroplasts are in plant cells. No chloroplasts in a yeast cell. Only plant cells have chloroplasts, which makes sense because they're the ones doing the photosynthesis, aren't they? Plasmid. Plasmid is a small circular... Plasmid is a tiny ring of genetic information found in some microorganisms. That's what a plasmid is. They're basically instead of a nucleus. Circular chromosome is also instead of a nucleus, because you need something to store the DNA, don't you? Food granules are found in yeast cells and possibly amoebas, but amoebas are not, on the diagram. Flagella, you get flagella and bacteria and some unicellular plant organisms. So there you have it. I hope this handy little diagram is helpful for you. No. We can harness the power of cells, can't we, in our daily lives. For example, yeast is used to make bread, and it's also used to produce alcohol. And this is something that I've dabbled with a little bit when we tried to make cider out of apples from the apple tree. Cider production has been a very popular tradition in the UK over the years. Crush your apples, which become ripe and fall from the tree in late summer, early autumn. You add a little bit of yeast, and the yeast multiplies. It goes crazy in the apple mulch, and it changes it all to changes a lot of sugar to alcohol, I believe. We also can use bacteria to make cheese and yogurt and things like that. It's very important. And also in the future, possibly on space stations, I imagine. And with space exploration, you're going to have to find a way to process your bodily waste, especially water. Urine, changing urine back into drinkable water. I think that's actually already being done in some laboratories. I don't know why you would want to drink urine, but probably to survive. But I do remember reading in a survival handbook that if you're in the desert and you're dying of thirst, it's better to not drink your own urine, because it has salt in it and it has other obvious waste products which you don't really want to be ingesting. Also, if you're in a desert and it's better, if you've got food but no water, it's better not to have the food, because food is going to dehydrate you more because of the digestive process. I remember reading. So there you have it. Survival tips. Other important cells in medicine are stem cells, which are basically these magical cells which can be used for a multitude of things: cancer research, genetic engineering, and one thing I learned about today was they can actually be used to grow human skin for burn victims. Now this is a very interesting topic for me personally, because I actually had a burn when I was 9 years old. Just a kid. I was walking through this high school, the high school that I later went to, and with a friend of mine. It was April Fool's Day, I remember. It was the 1st of April, 1984 it must have been. And we were walking through, it was a Sunday or a Saturday, the school was closed but the gates were open, and we took a shortcut through the school to get to my friend's house, and we walked past the boiler room, and outside the boiler room there was a wall at a right angle, and piled up against the right angled wall was what I thought was a big pile of sand. And being a kid, I just I was going to jump on the sand and jump off the wall. But to my surprise and horror, my foot sank into the substance, and I burnt my foot because it was hot ash from the boiler room. For some reason, it was common practice to take the hot ash out of the boiler room, throw it outside to cool down, and then, I don't know. So I burnt my foot. I didn't understand what happened. Obviously I should have put my foot into water as soon as possible, but I didn't know that. I didn't know what to do. So I went to my friend's house, took my shoe off, covered my foot in a cold, wet, it's a handkerchief, I think it was. And then I had to go to a hospital, and they did some nerve tests. They did a skin graft. I had to stay in hospital. Had general anaesthetic. They put me under, and they took some skin from my inner thigh. You see that? So they went a bit deep with this part. There's another part here that was taken off, and they stitched it onto my foot. So there's actually hairs on my foot, which should be growing on my leg. If it happened nowadays, like this is 40 years later, technology has advanced so much that this kind of thing might not be necessary now. Possibly they can grow skin from stem cells, so they would take the cells from my own spine, I suppose, and then use that to grow skin, and then put that on my foot. So yeah, that's one of the great things about science. You know, these things, we can make leaps and bounds in various processes using cells to improve our lives and improve the lives of our loved ones. So that's it. That's all for today. I hope you have found that interesting and or useful. And yeah, that's Unit 1 finished. Thanks very much for watching. See you next time. Goodbye.